If your weakness, which is reading comp and logical reasoning, is giving you anxiety, then turn that weakness into a strength. Attack it head on.
Hello and welcome to episode 449 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. I'm Nathan Fox. With me is Ben Olson. We're the co-founders of LSATdemon.com and the LSAT Demon Daily podcast. If you'd like to be LSAT famous, all you got to do is share news or ask questions on our website, thinkinglsat.com. I've got a free class coming up. I hope everybody will come join. It's April 18th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. All you got to do is go to lsatdemon.com/free if you want to register for that class. It's the exact class that I teach twice, 2 weeknights per week at LSAT Demon. It's all levels, it's all topics. And I hope to see you all there. Again, that's lsatdemon.com/free. April 12, 2024, the April LSAT begins. So we got an LSAT coming up in 4 days, Ben. What do I want to do different and special to make sure that I crank out the maximum improvement in the last 4 days before the LSAT?
Yeah, we get this question all the time. You don't need to do anything special. If anything, you're going to do less this week rather than more. If you do the same amount as you've always done, that's totally fine with me as well. If you've been studying correctly, that means you haven't been overdoing it anyway. So this week, you just keep doing that, and then you go take the test whenever you take it. There are people who try to do more, right? They do multiple tests this last week, or they finally start their workout routine or getting up early or whatever. Don't do that. Just do what you've been doing or do less.
Yeah, our primary message is that you should be treating every official test as if it's just another practice test. And this is the best way to avoid test anxiety. It's funny that the people who have the worst test anxiety tend to do the exact opposite of that, where they're the ones who clear their calendar. You know, they're the ones who take 2 weeks off of their job so that they can buckle down in the last 2 weeks. They're the ones who they say things that betray like a misunderstanding of what they're doing. They say something like, "This will be my first LSAT." It's not your first LSAT. I'm looking at your practice test record right now. You've done 20 tests. Those are all LSATs. This one's just another one of those. So it's not like this is your first one. You're going to see how you do. You're going to see how you know how you're going to do based on your practice test scores. If you're happy with your practice test scores, look, you didn't clear your calendar before you took your practice tests. You didn't start getting up early. You didn't change your routine. You didn't study extra hard for those practice tests. Then don't do any of that shit for the official test either. I think it's more important the more susceptible you are to test anxiety. We have a student right now, Ben, who is a Demon Live subscriber who is very anxious about this upcoming test and continues to ask like every single teacher in, it seems like every single class, should I take the test? Should I take the test? This upcoming April test. Should I take it? Should I take it? Should I take it? And consistently, every teacher is like, well, your practice test scores are this. Yes, you should take it. And the student keeps asking like, well, but maybe I'm not ready yet. It's my first attempt. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I should withdraw. And it's like, okay, you're doing exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. You're giving the official test so much power.
Yeah.
You got to stop that. If you're happy with your practice test scores overall, just take the damn test. Stop worrying about it and stop giving the test so much respect.
I couldn't agree more. Hopefully the student figures that out. I mean, the best way, ironically, to get over that hurdle, right, is to just take it.
Yeah, like go see a movie or something to distract yourself. You're taking the test in a couple 4 days, whatever it is. You're either prepared now or you're not. And you are. We've told you a million times. Look at your practice tests. You're happy with those. You got to take the test. You got to start firing bullets at some point. And the worst thing you could do is just keep obsessing and study harder and harder and harder as the as the official test approaches, because yeah, again, you're doing something different for that official test than you've done for all of your practice tests. And that's how you end up with different results. All right. We got a registration deadline coming up, Ben. April 23rd is the registration deadline for the June 2024 LSAT. It's an easy calculus. Are you happy on April 22nd with your practice test scores? If you are, then you should sign up for the June test. If you're very not happy with your practice test scores on April 22nd, then don't sign up for the June LSAT. If you're, what do you think, Ben? The gray area is like 5, 8 points, 10 points, maybe. 10's
Yeah,
kind of pushing it.
pushing it. I would say 5 to 8.
Yeah.
You might see that gap close over the next month and a half.
But if you're in no rush and you're 8 points away, we're perfectly happy with you not signing up. 5 points away, yeah, okay, fine. Don't sign up. Like, what's
Yeah.
the rush?
Wait till you know you're ready. Yeah.
But if you've got some scores on your practice test record where you're like, oh yeah, if I put that on my official record, I'd be done. Well, then yeah, sign up for the damn test. Let's do it, because only your highest one is going to count. And you might end up having to take this test 3, 4, 5 times even to get the score on your official record that really reflects your true ability. Go to lsat.link/dates if you want to see all of the LSAT registration deadlines. One more announcement before we get on to the content. I'm going to have you, Ben, read an email from Harry, who disagrees with some of our advice. So we're going to confront that head on. But first, I want to make a plea. We are hiring teachers. We want, especially people who are listeners of this podcast. Maybe you're an LSAT Demon student. You have made big progress with us on the podcast or with us via the LSAT Demon, and you're starting to see those 170 something scores pop up. We need you in the classroom. Our best teachers tend to come from within. Go to lsat.link/apply. If you want to teach classes, you need a resume and a screenshot of your official score report and a video of you teaching an actual LR question or a written explanation of an LR question. Again, that's lsat.link/apply. We also have jobs available for Ask Button heroes. That is people who volunteer with us in exchange for a free account. For that, all you need is 170 plus practice test scores. But lsat.link/apply, we're really looking for classroom teachers. All right. You want to read this email from Harry? Subject again is, I disagree with some of your advice.
Certainly. I recently took a practice LSAT and took your advice about not skipping a difficult question, saving it for later if there's time. Okay, so Harry didn't skip it, didn't save it for later, and actually did it.
Yeah.
I did exactly that and ran out of time for the last 2 sections of a 4-section test. When I looked at the questions after I was done with the test, they were all questions I'd seen before. I would have known the answers to most of the remaining questions, or at least known how to figure them out the right way. I like all the stuff you guys recommend, except for the slow down to speed up. I'll be skipping really tough questions on the LSAT in June, bookmarking them to return to if I have time. This is such an odd conclusion to come to based on the scenario here, because Harry did a section, didn't skip a hard question. Okay, good. We like that. But the reason for skipping in the future is that Harry recognized the questions that came later. That's never going to happen on the official test.
Yeah, that's the part where it really goes off the rails, right? Harry, I don't know, you're doing a test you've seen before, or you're doing a test where somehow some of the questions you've already seen before. That's never, ever going to be a thing on the real test.
Never.
So
if that's your reason, then okay, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
If
His
your
other reason is simply, I ran out of time.
Yeah. And okay, yeah, we're playing the long game here, and that is figure out how to do the questions as you go through them. And in most cases, the questions that come later are going to be actually harder than the hard one you skipped.
Yeah. I don't want to be like a crazy stickler about this, and I don't want people to take me the wrong way. you know, I'm not telling you to spend 15 minutes on a single question.
14, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
just just joking. But anyways, yeah.
yeah. I'm not telling somebody like if you get to this barrier, you have to solve the question. I don't care if you spend the remainder of your 35 minutes on that question. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is give every question a fair shot. Get as close as you're going to get to the correct answer. When you feel like you're no longer making traction, maybe close your eyes for a few seconds, maybe reread it one more time, but then choose an answer and move on. I'm not telling you to let that one question be a roadblock. It's like, well, that was a really hard number 4. That's a shame that I didn't get any farther than number 4 on the section. That's, that's not what we're saying. We're
Yeah.
saying, and I'm not saying you have to answer every question with 100% certainty. You have to have a little bit of swagger, right? So you've got to get to the point where you're going to find an answer that you feel good enough about, where I feel better about this answer than I do about any of the other answers. And this one does feel like a hard one. I've given it the old college try a time or two. All right, I'm going to pick this answer and I'm going to just live with it and move on. That's what we want you to do.
Yeah, so we're not saying to never move on, but we are saying to give it an honest attempt, as opposed to what so many people do, right? They sometimes they just glance at a question and they say, "Oh, this looks like a parallel reasoning question because I see all the answer choices are super long. I suck at those, so I'm
Yeah,
going to skip it."
that's, you know what
Or
that's called? I mean, that's punting on first down. That's like,
yeah,
oh, this defense is super scary. I'm just going to go ahead and punt it. My
yeah,
best chance
yeah,
here is to just punt.
yeah,
No, it's not. You're probably skipping, because if you only ever did that once per section, I'd be like, okay, how much can it possibly hurt you?
sure.
But anybody who does it way more than once per section. And so Harry now is wanting to like flag the question. Now it's in Harry's mind, oh, I got to finish the section so that I can go back to that one. But Harry's going to also flag 9 other questions on the, not 9, but he's going to flag more than just that one, though. He's going to flag a few of them. And now it's like, dude, you're not actually finishing your work. You're doing a little piece of this job and a little piece of that job and a little piece of this other job. And now you got shit scattered all around your workroom. You're climbing over boxes, mentally. You've got, well, number 4 is still over here and number 17 is still over here. And I'm working on number 22 in front of me. That's not good. I'd rather just do as much as you can with each question, forget about them entirely, and then just only move forward through the section, never back.
Totally. And even if you only skip one, like you said, like how much damage can that do? It's still not the question you want to be skipping. Piano players, they practice a piece and they might get through half of it and then there's this hard section. Well, you get better at the whole piece by doubling down on that hard section. Whereas some people, what they do is they go back to the beginning and they play again. It's like you don't need to work on everything you just did. You need to work on that piece or the section of that piece that's giving you trouble. The same thing is true on the LSAT. If you're coming to a question and you're like, oh, I'm just going to skip that, and I only do that once per section, fine. But isn't that the very area
Yeah.
you need to work on? And that's where
Yep.
you're going to get the most benefit. And that's why we want to play the long game here.
Yeah. Harry's like, well, but I'm going to play the first half of the piece pretty well. And then there's going to be some pieces that I don't really know. So I'll just kind of skip those. I'll just botch those. And then I'll just do the rest of it.
Yeah.
And he's planning on that, not just for like a test that's coming up 4 days from now. He's planning on that for a test that's coming up months from now. So now he's going to like build his whole preparation strategy around this idea that he's going to skip the hard ones and go back to them. Like, Harry, just do fewer questions, dude. Just get to the point where you're getting the first, I'll tell you what, Harry, get the first 20 in a row right. And then see what your score is. Because I guarantee that 20 in a row right at the beginning of the section is better than whatever Harry's scoring right now. And that's less work, Harry, for more pay, which is really the whole point of our advice about slowing down to speed up.
All right, this next one's from Emna. Oh, it's an audio recording. Cool.
Hi, Ben and Nathan. My name is Emna, and I'm currently a first year teacher for Teach for America in Jacksonville, Florida. I graduated from college last May, and since then have been prepping for LSAT and planning to apply this fall. As you may know, TFA is a 2-year commitment. And despite my student data being really high for my particular class level and being really successful at teaching, I'm finding myself really exhausted and nervous about completing my 2nd-year commitment while studying and applying for law school. I study at least an hour every day, if not more, and have seen improvement, but I think I can do more with more time and less mental exhaustion. I'm wondering if you think quitting TFA will hurt my application, and if you have any insight about the application cycle, the time commitment, and what you would expect, that would be great. Thank you both so much. Bye.
That's awesome. Emna skipped the line for all of the questions being asked on our website, thinkinglsat.com. Make a recording like Emna. You'll get preferential treatment from us. This isn't the first time I've heard complaints about Teach for America. How about you?
Uh, I've heard complaints before, but I can't remember what they were. Was it overworking? I don't know. Or
Yeah,
just
it just seems brutal. I mean, it's like I wouldn't be able to do that. You kidding me? Like put me into an underserved high school or junior high or primary school somewhere and just throw me into the trenches in an underfunded school with a bunch of students who are probably really struggling at home and in life and food insecurity and healthcare insecurity and all kinds of problems in the schools. And it's like bunch of super really well-meaning people in a very well-meaning program, I think. But then they're all these people, at least the ones that talk to us, always have, law school in mind,
yeah.
and they just find it extreme. It's a very high pressure job, and it just takes a lot out of people. So Emna, I mean, I guess I can just say kudos, congratulations. Thank you for fighting the good fight in Teach for America. That said, I'm always a fan of quitting your job. I mean, I just I just don't think people should continue to do stuff that they really don't like. So if you're like asking podcasters for their opinion about whether you should quit your job, it's like, yeah, like don't quit your job to study for the LSAT though. Quit your job because it's like too much.
Yeah, see, I thought the main focus of this was quitting her job to study for the LSAT. So my gut was just say, hey, just make this process a little longer. Don't worry about applying to law school as soon as you finish TFA.
I think that is a valid point as well. Like, what is the rush? And I don't think that you need to do more than an hour a day, right? Emna said I study at least an hour every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, think I could do more. But I think I guess I was on the less mental exhaustion part of this,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, Emna, if you feel like your efforts are unappreciated and if you feel like you're just banging your head against a wall in Teach for America, I certainly wouldn't worry about like, oh, if I quit, it'll look bad on my law school applications.
Mm.
I think that this is extremely common to see people who committed to Teach for America and then didn't make it. I think it's a feather in your cap if you finish, but I just don't mind if you quit. And if you decide to keep going, then I strongly encourage you to do what Ben is saying, which is just stretch out the process. You don't have to go to law school immediately the day after you get out of Teach for America.
You could even stop studying for the LSAT now. Just say, hey, like, I'm going to, this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to finish strong. I'm going to, if you like this opportunity, if there's something that you're getting out of it, and the problem really is just that you're trying to do too much at once. Well, then do that and then turn your focus to the LSAT. There's no problem with that. In fact, by the end of your 2nd year, you might have decided that you want to do something other than law school.
Yeah, or you'll be doubled in your resolve to become a lawyer.
Hmm.
If you have to take a gap year after Teach for America, Teach for America is not really very law adjacent. And so I wonder, Emna, like, do you know what you're getting yourself into? What do you want to do as far as in the legal world? What type of law do you think you want to practice? You could plan on just like doing your best in Teach for America. And then when you get out of Teach for America, you could resume your LSAT studies and potentially get a lower time commitment job, like maybe a part-time job in a law firm.
Yeah. Yeah.
and just take an additional year.
I really like that because I think a lot of people like Emna. I'm not saying that this is true for Emna, but a lot of people like her. They want to do something really good for the world, and they think that a legal education is going to help them do that. And
Mhm.
it can, but in a lot of cases, most cases, it can't. They're just going to go into this funnel of big law and or just regular legal
Or not
practice.
practice law at all, right? I think it's like
Yeah.
half of the people who go to law school end up actually practicing law.
Yeah.
And of those that are successful, the ones that make a lot of money, those are big law lawyers. And those are probably playing on the other team, Emna, from the team that you would be likely to play for.
Yeah.
Because that's just where the big money is. So, yeah, slow it down. I see like two ways on the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get the most out of it or just get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But don't try to do both. Don't try to also like ramp up your LSAT studies so that you can start applying to law school now. She's asking just random questions about the application cycle, the time commitment for what? I don't even know what you would
Yeah.
expect about what. Like there's just way too she's doing too much.
You know what's hidden in here, she doesn't talk about it, but what's hidden in here is a goal. No, actually, wait, did she say it at the beginning? Oh yeah, she's planning to apply this fall. That's the problem. These preset timelines, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to just
Yep.
waiting until you have your best LSAT score, then looking forward to the next application cycle,
Yep.
whatever that happens to be.
Yep, that was the worst like the worst trick that the law school industrial complex ever played on law school applicants was to give them the sense that they really need to hyper focus on the cycle and that they need to try to squeeze in to get into law school at any particular time. And I think Emna's following our advice, right? Because Emna's like, well, I want to apply in fall. Yes,
Yeah.
Emna, we want you to apply in fall, but we just don't care if you apply this fall or next fall. And all that means is you start law school next fall or the following fall after that. And who gives a shit? Because you're going to graduate at 28 instead of 27. Like that's just not a difference. There is no difference really in those two numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for Emna? Really appreciate the audio question.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Next thing, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just thought it was funny. I got a series of emails from the UC Law San Francisco alumni list. Used to be formerly UC Hastings Law, my alma mater. I graduated in 2011. I still get emails from them constantly begging for money. I have
Hmm.
never given them any money other than the tuition I paid and fees.
Hmm.
But I I certainly would have no intention of donating money back to the school.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean, do you want to read this maybe? How about
Sure.
you read the first couple paragraphs here of Morris's email.
Yeah. So it says, Dear Nathan, our class of 2024 graduates are about to pivot from law school to bar study. The next few months until they take the exam create a critical window of opportunity for us to provide them with the support they need to succeed. Okay, and then we got a bolded, underlined sentence that says, Your contribution to the Bar Prep Support Fund, okay, plays a pivotal role in this journey. By giving now, you help alleviate the financial burdens that can distract from study and preparation. Help us make a difference today. Wow. Make your donation to the Bar Prep Support Fund. It just surprises me because this institution, right, like so many other law schools, charges exorbitant amounts of tuition for 3 years of law school, all in the goal of helping people to go take the bar eventually. And yet people need to go do third-party prep services to get ready for this exam, which is supposed to test them on what they learned in law school. And despite having given them all this money, they can't help you out with that. Like,
Because it's a pivot, Ben. It's a pivot from law school, which we did for 3 years. Law school, that's the thing that they charge $55,000. Sorry, $55 $48,207 per year times 3 for law school. Resident tuition, Ben, it's discounted all the way down to $48,000 if you're a, I guess, California resident.
Oh, thanks for the discount. Okay.
So they are definitely charging, and anybody who pays full price, which let me just take a quick look at that one. 13% at Hastings actually pay full price. 87% get some kind of grants, but most of those grants are pretty minimal. 67% of the class is getting something less than half.
Yeah, you're still paying tens of thousands of dollars to this institution, and they can't help you in the last 3 months of this quote critical window, which they say.
Yeah. This isn't a school that gives crazy scholarships. It's just wildly overpriced because of overhead, bureaucracy. I don't know where that money goes, but you know where it doesn't go? It doesn't go to bar prep.
No.
Because they are continually begging the alumni base to help alleviate the financial burdens that can distract from study and preparation. I hate to break it to you, Dean Ratner. This is Morris Ratner, Provost and Academic Dean at UC Law SF. But hey, Dean Ratner, how about you spend some of that tuition money on bar prep? How about you offer bar prep during 3L?
Well, yeah, incorporate it into the legal program somehow.
What's the point? What are we doing? I mean, the long-standing joke about law school is that in your first year, they scare you to death. In your second year, they work you to death. And in your third year, they bore you to death.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cliche for a reason, because it's totally true. And everybody agrees that it's true. Why don't you just do bar prep in the third year?
Why not? It could even just be the last semester. Bar prep doesn't take that long.
Right. No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't take an entire semester. I mean, Kaplan and Barbary and whatever, they have like 6-week bar prep courses. It's like intensive 5 or 6 days a week for 6 weeks. And then you sit for the bar. And that's what most people do right when they graduate in the summer.
Yeah.
And help us make a difference today, though. Okay. Anyway, I'll get off that. But I got like 3 emails or more, I think, maybe in the span of about a week. And they do this constantly, like I think more than once per year, maybe. They have this like one of their many fundraising emails that they send out to the alumni base.
I was thinking about this. I didn't know you got so many emails, but I mean, it must work, right? Some people must contribute money. And I was curious what their motivation was. They just really believe. They're like, yeah, cool. Help the next generation of law students.
Yeah, there's also more to it than that, right? Like they have like full departments that are dedicated to what they call development. And what development really is developing their donor leads, right?
Yeah, there's
so
this like connection or this.
Yeah. So part of this email is fishing for people who might have more money than good sense. Because if I got this email and I was like, oh, I don't know, drunk and rich, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to donate $50 or $100 or whatever to help these people. That feels good. I'm going to make myself feel good. I'm going to donate this money to some kid who needs it. And I feel sorry for them. Well, then the next thing that's going to happen is this dude is going to call me up. Maybe $100 isn't enough for him to call me, but it will guarantee that I will continue to get increasing requests.
Yes.
For more and more and more. And then eventually it's going to be like, come to lunch, come to dinner, come to this special whatever, get this special treatment if you do this other special thing. And then it's like, ultimately we're hoping that you're going to donate $250,000. Of course, it'll cost us $150,000 of that $250,000 to get our hands on the $250,000. But I mean, that's what a development department does.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like these expensive dinners and speakers and everything like that. That's exclusive to these people, to these donors.
Yeah, I'll try to shine some light when I continue to get these. I've been talking trash about it for like 10 years on the podcast, and they've never cut me off. I keep expecting them to unsubscribe me, but they never do. But I'll try to shine some light. When we get these fundraiser dinner or whatever, it's like, hey, this is what you're buying.
You should
Um,
donate $25 to this. See what happens.
just to give them the little.
A little tease. Yeah.
It's like a double agent. Okay,
Yeah.
no, maybe I will.
Hmm.
No, I won't. That would like violate my moral code to donate money. All right. Why don't you read this next one from Michael? The subject is, am I even doing this thing right?
Hey, Nathan and Ben, I'm writing in because honestly, I have no idea if I'm studying correctly. For context, I'm aiming to take the August test and started studying back in January of this year. Okay. My studies consist of both timed and untimed drills. Huh? A little confused there. Maybe Michael means timed sections and tests, and then
People say that all the time,
drills.
Ben. Yeah, they conflate. We don't know if Michael's a Demon student. In the Demon we have drilling, which is one question, one passage, one game at a time.
It's untimed.
But people always say, sorry, yeah, and it's not timed. People always use when they do a timed section, they call that drilling. So that's just
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And some days dedicated to understanding LR questions. Some days dedicated to understanding LR questions. That sounds like looking at lessons or something. I have seen no progress because I have poor study habits and work full time. Okay. I'm down to 4 months now and have been freaking out, mainly because I need a good score, 160 plus, since my undergraduate GPA was objectively ass, 2.2. I've been slowing down, journaling, and taking more untimed tests to just really get a stronger foundation. But unfortunately, I feel that this may be a bigger hill time. My diagnostic was 142 with some studying. Anyways, how should I approach this as the test day looms ever so slowly?
Ain't nothing slow about it, Michael. August will be here before you know it, and you know what your problem is. You don't work hard enough at it. You said you have poor study habits. I'm willing to take you at your word. I also had a GPA in college that was objectively ass. I think I had a 2.5. But the line for objectively ass is 3.0, I think, when we talk about law school admissions.
Yeah.
Your GPA is atrocious. 2.2 is very, very, very poor. That is, you have demonstrated that you're capable of doing the bare minimum, barely, in order to graduate. And that's just not, that's not someone who is good at school. And that's okay. I'm terrible at school. I hate school. I'm a bad student. It wasn't the right fit for me. So when I read an email like this, it sounds so much like me, which is like, dude, why are you even going down this road? Law school is for worker bees. Law school is for good students. I'm not saying you can't overcome a bad GPA, but you definitely can't overcome poor study habits. If you're not willing to devote yourself to being a student, you are not going to be successful in law school.
Yeah, I want to actually focus on these numbers a little bit more. You had a low GPA and then you got a very high LSAT score, 179.
I did.
And that still wasn't sufficient to make law school a good choice for you.
No.
But I wonder if it was at least necessary. I'm not saying that people who have a low GPA need to get a 179, but when Michael says, I need a good score, parentheses.
Of 160 plus.
Yeah, 160 plus. That doesn't sound like enough to me to say, okay, now I've overcome my GPA and law school is a good choice for me.
No.
I'm not talking about your application, Michael. I'm talking about the decision for you to go to law school. I think you need to do better on the LSAT to convince yourself that this is the right path for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go into the scholarship estimator. Okay, I'm going to be generous to Michael, and I'm going to put in a 165.
Okay.
With Michael's 2.2. And so this is lsatdemon.com/scholarships. And I'm scrolling down. There are some scammerships. There are schools that offer so many scholarships. Like even Wash U pops up with like less than half. That's ranked 20th in the country. And that's where somebody like Michael goes, oh, I could probably get into that school with the right LSAT.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, dude, but there's going to be a ton of people there with better grades than you, probably even better LSAT than you. paying zero tuition, you're going to pay almost full, if not full tuition. And then those people are going to outwork you in school for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get the worst opportunities that WashU has to offer. They're going to get all the best opportunities, and because they have the best grades. And it's just, it's going to work out poorly for you. Scrolling, down the list. I don't. Okay. So full tuition, Ben, at Campbell, Campbell University School of Law in Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah, their median LSAT is a 155. Their 75th percentile LSAT is a 159. You're still, though, atrociously, like almost a full point lower on GPA than their 25th percentile of 3.17. So you're going to be like an extreme splitter at a school like Campbell. If Campbell's the type of school that you think you want to go to, I'm sure it's an okay regional law school. I'm sure it makes real regional lawyers, but I seriously doubt that it makes big time corporate lawyers that make a lot of money. I seriously doubt that it makes big time prestigious, like the really competitive ACLU job or whatever that people think they want. I doubt that it does a lot of that.
Wait, before we keep talking about this, can you click on the tuition roll call for Campbell?
Sure.
I'm clicking on the 509. Okay, according to the 509, 94% get full tuition.
Okay.
What?
So something weird's going on at Campbell University School of Law. They received 957 applications last year for 370 offers of admission. The acceptance rate was really pretty high for a school with that bad of rankings. The acceptance rate was 38.6%. I mean, that's like a top 20 acceptance rate. And I think it probably has to do with the fact that they're offering everybody a full ride.
Do you think they're just like, okay, we're going to eat the costs for the next 3 years and try to get our ranking up?
I bet it gooses the rankings almost immediately, right? If they're like, hey, we have to increase our GPA or LSAT profile.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that immediately by essentially not charging any tuition. I mean, it's not like this is unprecedented. When UC Irvine launched, they gave full rides to 100% of their first class.
And
that happened only like 10 years ago.
Law professors might have high salaries, but that's the only expense. It's not like a science program where you have labs and equipment and all this stuff, right?
Well, if you're Hastings, you build skyscrapers in the middle of San Francisco, but there is some of that.
You don't have to have like an enormous budget for a law school in theory. Right?
If you were smart, you would do it on Zoom. But
so
yeah, it's crazy. Like these are the games that are being played, and that's why the roll call tool is so important, right? So this is lsatdemon.com/scholarships. If you just click on any school, you can see a graphical representation, and yeah, for Campbell, it just lights up in green, where 94% of the class pays no tuition, 5% pays less than half tuition, 1% pays full tuition. That's crazy. Like almost nobody is even paying half of the tuition.
Yeah.
But those people do tend to pay full price. Anyway, I would work, to return to Michael's email. It's like, Michael, is that what you're looking to do? Are you trying to just squeak in? Because if you get a 160, then you're going to maybe get to be that one person who pays tuition at Campbell. If you get a 165, you might join the masses that got to go to that school for free this year. What's wild, Ben, is that the school that does that is just like they're charging some law students. It's a different way of charging some law students more than others. Right? You like give out crazy scholarships one year to get a goose in the rankings.
Oh, so the scholarships are distributed over time.
Over time, exactly. So we always worry about being the 99% versus the 1%, which even in this class, they are price discriminating. Some people pay nothing, some people pay everything. But they're doing that over time as well, presumably, because they have to charge tuition at some point. They can't give away 99% full tuition forever, right?
Yeah.
Unless they have some weird unknown, external funding that we don't know about. But what they probably do is they probably like get the ranking up a little bit, then start charging everybody.
Yeah. 100%.
the ranking then falls because immediately their acceptance rate falls because people are like, no, I'm not going to your school without a scholarship. So the acceptance rate falls. So the ranking falls.
No, but they could do this slowly, right? They don't have to go from charging nothing to
Right.
charging 100%. They could just start to slowly decrease the scholarships and try to, as they
Reason
did.
number 20 why you should apply broadly, because you might end up getting some weird, unexpected sweetheart deal
Yeah.
from some school.
Well, so I mean, this whole conversation with these numbers is focused on whether or not Michael can get in. But I think Michael really needs to focus on the numbers to figure out whether legal practice is something that he really wants to pursue.
Yeah, you're just not going to get it done with I have poor study habits. I mean, I say it all the time, and it's true. It's a serious deficiency in the way I do everything. I'm a bad student. I'm a bad listener in a lot of cases. I'm a bad note taker. I mean, I take no notes at all, and if I do, I lose them. I'm just like, being a student is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is it for you, Michael? Because I really do want to emphasize, you can change. You know, it's not like the 2.2 is just a kiss of death. But if the same you is going to be in law school as got that 2.2, then I think you're seriously just underestimating the hill that you're climbing. It's like you're acknowledging that it might be a bigger hill.
Mm.
I'm not sure you can even see the like Mount Everest that you're trying to climb.
Yeah, it's surrounded by clouds right now.
Well, and hills like you're looking at the hill in front of you going, fuck, I could never climb that. And it's like, yeah, dude, well, that's just that's just the beginning of, you can't even actually, the
That's
mountain. You're not even at the mountain yet.
You climb that to go to the trailhead for where you have to show them your pass to even just start on the journey to Mount
Exactly.
Everest.
Yeah. You're on your way to the trailhead that takes you to base camp, that takes you up Everest.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
All right, let's keep it moving. Thank you, Michael, for writing in. This next one, it's just a curious listener. It says, hi, Nate. I know you had a super quick improvement on the logic games comparatively. Can you share what your schedule or routine looked like while you were practicing for that section? Likewise, Ben, not to leave you out. Thanks so much, both. Best, curious listener. I studied for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I was pretty strong on reading comp and LR to start, but I had a big deficiency in games. I worked on my worst section more than I worked on the other sections. You know, I look at my few mistakes that I was making on LR and RC. I looked at those, but games, it was like, shit, I'm running out of time. I mean, I'm only doing 2 out of the 4 games. What do I do? So for about 6 weeks, I think I did a game every single day. Sorry, I did a section of games every single day. I think some days I might have done 2 sections, but I worked through a serious number of timed sections with then, if I ran out of time, I just reviewed. I think I might have also been doing 1 test per week with a study partner at that same time. 1 test per week, and then, yeah, additional section of games every day. And I went from like 2 out of 4 games in 35 minutes to perfect on games in 35 minutes. That was my prep. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, I don't remember how long I prepped for. It was months, not weeks.
Okay.
But I do remember doing a lot of individual games and I did a lot of game sections and I always reviewed. And the way I reviewed was I was taking a class and the teacher had drawn the final diagram. And so it was just like, here's the final diagram for this game. And I would look at that drawing and then try to figure out how the teacher got there if I couldn't
Reverse
figure it out.
engineer it.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then I would redo games that I think I redid almost all of them because in my mind, figuring out how I got there was one thing with that diagram staring me in the face. But I just wanted to see if I could go through each of the steps on my own without any help. So I would often
Sure.
redo a game right then, or I might redo it maybe in a couple weeks just to see if I still remembered. But I've seen that since I've started teaching too, that like I guess I've been teaching for a while now, so that sounds a little strange. But people do this, right? They're like, watch our explanation, or they follow us in class or whatever, and then they're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it's like, all right, well, redo it right now. And as they're going through, they get to like one rule, and they're trying to figure out how. I know that F has to go third, but I don't know why. And that's because observing and doing are just different animals.
Yep. And I would also encourage people to try the same game in multiple different ways.
Totally.
If maybe you made worlds and it worked out pretty well, but you're not 100%. Okay, well, could you try a different first split and see what happens? Maybe you understand it if you see a video that explains one way of doing it. Can you replicate that? Like, could you do it step by step on your own?
Hmm.
Now that you've seen it happen, okay, turn it off. Can you do it on your own? If you can, and if that's really easy for you, and if you're like, oh yeah, I'm getting the steps here, well then, okay, let's try a different first split and see what you
Yeah,
do.
totally.
And there are many games that are susceptible to at least 2 and sometimes 4, 5, 6 different first splits that will end up crushing the game in a variety of different ways. All right, next one is from Anonymous. Anxiety over logic games going away.
I'm planning to take the June LSAT. I've been scoring between 171 and 175 with a few random low scores of 168 to 170. I always score perfectly on logic games. I love the games, and it provides me confidence when taking the LSAT and is a nice mental break, which helps my performance on the other sections. My next best section is logical reasoning, and reading comp is my worst. My end goal is to score mid to high 170s. Personally, I don't know if I will be consistently achieving this goal range by the June test, as it took me a long time to even get my current PT range, practice test range. However, I feel like June is my last shot to get a score in the 170s at all due to the logic games going away in August, as I'm one of the individuals that will be impacted by the logic games removal. Personally, removing logic games takes me out of the 170s and into the 160s max.
You don't have any authority to say that. That's just speculation. But okay,
Yep.
go ahead.
The fact that the June test I'm studying for is my one last chance to test with logic games is adding anxiety to my current studies because I feel a major time crunch and so much pressure on this one test administration. Any advice?
You got to start looking at the upside instead of the downside. I mean, I could tell right away at the beginning of this email, I've been scoring between 171 and 175 with a few random low scores of 168 to 170.
Hmm.
Why are you calling attention? I mean, the truth is, you've been scoring between 168 and 175. That's all you needed to say. You've been scoring between 168 and 175. That's a good ass range. 168 to 175? That's awesome. You kidding me? But you're so worried about the poor outcomes that you're just ignoring the fact that you are right now capable of scoring 175. It's true that you're only going to get to fire one bullet with the games if you're not already registered for April. So what? You're going to take your best shot in June. Then you're also going to plan to retake it in August and beyond. LR is just like games. It's a reading comprehension operation first, which is just read each bit and understand it. Put the pieces together. You put the pieces together in LR just like you put the pieces together in games. There's no reason why you can't get really, really, really good at LR. The only change to the test is taking the games away and adding one section of LR, which is your next best section. How does that automatically keep you out of the 170s and max you out in the 160s? This is like it's just like, this is all 100% in your head. Sorry for the rant.
No, I agree. I mean, so long and short of this is to look at June as an opportunity to take the test with games. And 2, if your weakness, which is reading comp and logical reasoning, is giving you anxiety, then turn that weakness into a strength. Just attack it head on. Just say, okay, You have anxiety because you're not as good at those sections as you could be.
Exactly. Yeah. People do score perfectly on LR. LR is your next best section. Why don't you just get better at LR? Getting better at LR will help you for the June test because 1 out of the 3 sections is LR on the June test. So you're going to give the games your best shot. You always score perfectly on games. Cool. That's free points. Then yeah, you should be busting ass on LR and RC because RC is not going anywhere. Study in a sustainable way between now and June for both LR and RC without neglecting games. Stay sharp on the games. Take the test in June. Take the test also in August and beyond. Stop worrying so much. Is it loss aversion, Ben? It's like Anonymous feels like this is just their only chance and they're afraid that they're going to lose their only chance. Instead of thinking about it as like, well, this is the money ball potentially for you, and you have to shoot the money ball first instead of last in the rack. Sorry, basketball, NBA All-Star. You know what I mean? Like when they're 3-point shooting contest and there's a whole rack of balls with the money ball at the end. This is just, you have to shoot the money ball first. So what? It's just another shot. You're going to shoot your best shot. And then you're going to take your best out of however many scores you take. Another thing that I want to call out here, it's just like kind of bad mental talk or thinking about it the wrong way, which is I don't know if I will be consistently achieving this goal range by the June test, which is mid to high 170s is your goal range. And you don't know if you'll be consistently achieving that goal range by the June test. Well, I don't either, and nobody does. And you shouldn't even be thinking about that. Instead, you should be thinking about how do I answer the questions that are in front of me correctly right now? And am I going to be okay with a number within my range? I mean, you don't even have to be thinking about the June test right now, right? Like, I assume you're registered. If not, you should be. You've scored a 175 and your games is the best. So yeah, you do really need to take June. So you're taking June. What value is there in worrying about whether you're going to consistently be in any range? I don't know. I think it's like an obsession with the low numbers.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of anxiety surrounding this test because it's seen as like you said, an opportunity that's slipping away, or the last chance or something like that. Think of it as a bonus. Everyone after this test is not going to be able to take a test with games.
Yeah, totally.
So think of it as you have an opportunity that a bunch of other people aren't going to have. Yeah. And hey, if it doesn't go well, that's fine. Just keep going because you have 4 more shots after that. And you're going to keep getting good at logical reasoning and at reading comp. And that's going to help you with law school. That's going to help you with your legal practice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the glass is half full, not half empty. This is a student who's like, it's like, well, it's such a good opportunity for me that it's tragic that I only get it once. Well, getting it once is better than getting it 0 times. So what's up? Like, you're going to just do the best you can in June, get better and better at LR and RC. And by the way, it's not like you suck at LR and RC. You've scored 175 before.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at LR and RC.
Yep.
You'll continue to improve. Keep working on it. Look at the individual questions and stop worrying about the scores so much. Word of the week, Ben, comes from Kelsey. Hey, Ben and Nate. I came across the word Daedalian and thought it would be good for word of the week. I am enrolled to start 1L at UCLA this fall, but I still listen to the podcast every week. I love the LSAT and you guys. Thanks to everyone at the Demon. I will be graduating debt-free from UCLA Law in 2027. Best, Kelsey. Daedalian, Ben. At least that's how I would pronounce that.
I have no clue. I'm just going to guess tired.
Well, tired? Ben's tired. Ben was on a flight and had a vomiting child at 4 a.m. Before the flight. So yeah, I get you. Okay, so my Greek and Roman mythology is very poor because I took one class my freshman year of college and I am not a good student. aforementioned bad student, me, took this class. Is there not a story about Daedalus?
That's new to me too. What was the story about? What did we learn about Daedalus?
That's the problem. I don't know at all. Like if it was Sisyphus, that's the pushing the rock up the mountain.
Okay.
And if it was like Achilles, that's like a weakness, or somebody has a weakness. And if it's I don't know, there are various people from Greek and Roman myth that I would be able to remember their thing, but I can't get it here. I got no clue.
Okay.
I wish we had context.
Yeah, context would help, right?
Yeah.
I just looked, okay, I clicked on the link here. It's an adjective, which is not surprising. Definition number 1 is ingeniously or cunningly designed. Skillful, intricate, ingenious, artistic. Okay. Second definition is difficult to comprehend due to complexity or intricacy. And then the third definition is deceitful and duplicitous.
Yeah. I could have got it from the Greek and Roman myth. I just looked it up. Daedalus was, in Greek mythology, a skillful architect and craftsman, seen as a symbol of wisdom, knowledge, and power.
Was he also cunning and deceitful?
Well, words have multiple meanings and they shift and change over time. But if it's like, I think a maze could be Daedalian. I think that an intricately designed craft could be Daedalian. A machine could be Daedalian.
For anyone who's curious, this is spelled Daedalian.
Yeah, and just in the spirit of actually learning something.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So the Wikipedia has a Southern England pronunciation. Daedalian. Okay. Yeah, again, ingeniously or cunningly designed. First definition. Artistic, ingenious, intricate, skillful. Sure. Like Daedalus, who, as everyone knows, was the father of Achilles and warned, Icarus. Icarus. Warned Icarus not to fly too close to the sunbed. Kid didn't listen.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. Okay. Thank you, Kelsey, for writing in. And wow, I can't believe you're still listening to the podcast. Is a 1L. Good luck in UCLA. Hey, report back. We'd love to hear a correspondent from inside the halls of UCLA law.
Yes, please. That would be cool.
You can be LSAT famous. Please ask questions or share news with us on our website, thinkinglsat.com, or on all the socials at LSAT Demon. If you have questions about the LSAT Demon, you can email the world's best customer service team. That's help@lsatdemon.com. Please check out our other podcast, LSAT Demon Daily. That was episode 449 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.